One of the largest racing organisations in Britain is FF Corsa, based at the entrance to Silverstone. Any Ferrari enthusiast entering this Aladdin's cave will be in seventh heaven. Let's rejoin Johnny Mowlem.
So here we are in FF Corsa's headquarters and the hangar where they keep all their Ferraris, only Ferraris as you'll see. And this baby here is the 458 Ferrari GT3 that you'll have seen before, that we've raced last year at the end of the year in the Abu Dhabi 12 hours, in the Gulf 12 hours. And if you carry on back, you'll see behind it, making it look a little bit dated, is the brand new state-of-the-art 488 GT3 car. Very, very different. Even at the front you can see with the splitter shoving air underneath. This car aerodynamically very, very much more like the GTE car than a GT3 car. And it's also built very much on a racing chassis setup in terms of suspension geometry, everything else. Coming round to the back here, you'll see it's also very, very different. It's got turbos. The turbos are actually tucked right down below. You've got the intercoolers here that you can see. This has got a transverse gearbox, and you can see by looking into the engine bay how low everything is. Very, very important in GT cars in particular, even with mid-engine cars, to try and get the weight as low down as possible. Really helps that centre of gravity, really helps the performance of the car. A lot more carbon fibre bodywork in terms of also keeping the weight very, very low down. So absolute state-of-the-art car, which I actually drove for the very first time only yesterday. Ivor Dunbar, who's going to be racing with me in the European Le Mans Cup, raced it, or drove it rather, tested it at the Paul Ricard tests. I was actually at Sebring 12 hours racing over there in conditions that are not dissimilar to what they are today at Silverstone, very, very wet. But I had the pleasure of having 10, 12 laps in it yesterday. Unbelievably good, especially in the fast corners. You can really feel that downforce. The seat is actually fixed. This is a really good safety feature. It's not on runners anymore, and the pedals have to be moved out towards you. So that actually keeps, again, good for performance because the weight of the driver is further back, and also very, very good for safety in terms of any side impacts or frontal impacts. Absolutely beautiful car, and if you take the time to sort of go around it, you'll see that aerodynamically absolutely awesome, especially at the back. You can see it looks like a GTE car. Looking at the rear diffuser, just absolutely beautiful. And I'm really looking forward to being able to compete with this year, with our first race starting in May at Imola.
Well, Anthony Cheshire, boss here of FF Corsa at Silverstone, you have got a hangar full of Ferraris. How many cars are out there?
Well, I think we're up to about 40 now. It's been going steadily over the last few years, and yeah, we're around that number.
So just explain the service you offer, because obviously Johnny Mowlem's one of the drivers who brings younger drivers to you and gentleman drivers. How does this actually work?
Well, we offer really a specialised, I call it a management service for Ferrari GT cars. We specialise only in Ferrari cars. We look after the Challenge and the GT variants, and it's something that gives us a sort of unique place in the market, especially here in the UK. And enables us to focus all our resources on just looking after that particular type of car. And
then you run people who just like to do track days as well.
Absolutely, yeah. We provide the support for anyone at any level, really. That's what we do. So quite often we're taking people who are new to it, teaming them up with a professional driver coach and the correct engineers and technical resources, and we can sort of take them from their first steps right up to international racing.
One of your clients, Bonamy Grimes, is making his racing debut, but he hasn't just jumped in the car today, has he, and gone out and learned. It's been a process. Just explain how you build up to that.
Absolutely, yeah, not at all. Yeah, Bonamy's doing his first race today, and I have to say, he's doing a fantastic job. He's developed through the sort of the steady academy approach that we run. So he started off very much doing track days in the Ferrari Challenge cars, getting coaching, improving his technique, improving his style of driving, and working up. And to be honest, he's got quite a lot of natural talent as well, Bonamy. So it became quite apparent quite soon that he would be able to step up to racing, and we arranged to get him his race licence. He did the course with that, got his licence, and then took part in some test sessions. Again, did a very, very good job. So it's time to dip his toe in and have his first race.
Meanwhile, at the sharp end, of course, you've won the Brit Car Championship with Callum and David Mason for the last couple of years. And it's always good to have that on your CV as well, to prove to all those customers you know how to race and race well.
Yeah, the competition side of it keeps us sharp, keeps us busy, and that's part of the weekend side of the activities. And then during the week is the sort of the track day and the slightly less pressurised environment that it brings with it.
Back in the Silverstone paddock on a very wet March day, Bonamy, with Johnny's help, was preparing to make his racing debut in the improved Britcar Endurance Series. Well, Johnny, Bond's just gone out, his first ever qualifying session for his first ever race. What are your final words of wisdom?
Enjoy yourself. And he did really well in the first practice session. He ended up 6th, actually, overall, and I think first or second in class, so he did a great job. But just go enjoy yourself. The conditions are a bit tricky, so he's gone out on wet, so he'll do a few laps, come in. I'm probably going to put slicks on and just gamble and see if we can get a good time in on slicks. But for him, just enjoy it.
And can you remember your first ever qualifying?
I can, and I was a lot more nervous than Bon appears to be, so he's doing a great job.
Wow, Bon, your first ever race meeting, and it looks as if you're on pole position. It's amazing.
We'll see, there's a few minutes left, but Johnny's doing a fantastic job. Yeah.
You seemed very cool and calm and collected before you went out, and Johnny said when he made his racing debut, he was much more nervous.
I'm nervous inside, don't trust me. If you look at my hands, it's all over the place. No, but actually having Johnny, coach me all through the winter, and we've done lots of testing. Silverstone's a circuit I'm very familiar with. Spent the whole winter driving in the wet here, so these changeable conditions actually I'm quite comfortable with. So as long as I keep it on the black stuff, hand the car over to Johnny, he can do some good stuff, and then we'll see where we go in the race. But it's very exciting.
FF teammate Callum Lockie and David Mason's new GT3 Ferrari just bumped Mowlem off the pole in the dying seconds of qualifying. They would start on the second row of the grid. Bonamy was trying not to think about a fairy tale debut. Professional racer Mowlem would start the 2-hour race in conditions that were not for the faint-hearted. It's time to go racing. Callum Lockie alongside the Audi GT3 there. There's Mowlem on the outside. Very difficult conditions indeed. And Lockie loses it and crashes into the barrier. Now what happened there? But he's firmly out of the race. Mowlem looking to the right. Taking it pretty easy in these early stages of the race. Lockie meanwhile climbs out of the car. The reigning champion is out at the very beginning. Here's Mowlem looking to his right again. And bump! Off he goes. A Renault's hit him. That Renault RS01 then hits him a second time. Damage to the side of the Ferrari. Oh dear me. That wasn't what was hoped for. They're discussing it down in the pits. Bonamy obviously very disappointed. Team boss Anthony instructing Mowlem to bring the car back slowly. But look at the damage on the side of it. That car is going absolutely nowhere. A final helping hand into the garage, but that's the end of a 2-hour race after a minute. As mechanics inspect the car, it's a nightmare for the FF Corsa team.
Very wet out there, obviously just taking it a little bit easy and just trying to find, we started third, and the Renault Sport Trophy car just came down the inside of me, and the only reason I was giving room at the apex was to take the wet line around the outside because there's a puddle at the apex, and I think he hit the puddle and just basically walloped into me, which initially when he hit me it wasn't a problem because I just straightened up my steering and went straight at that point. Could have probably run off the edge of the track there, there's a tarmac there, I knew that. So I didn't think too much of it, and then of course what happened to him, I imagine, is that after he hit me he spun, and as he spun and I was turning to come back across the track, he just literally came straight across the side of me and the front of me and absolutely destroyed the side of the car. So more fool him, unfortunately he's come back in, done something, gone back out because of the way he hit me. I suspect obviously he's got less damage than I have, but we're out of the race. I feel really bad for Bond, didn't even get to drive in the race. It's absolutely gutting for him, so I feel really bad, but literally nothing I could have done in that situation, just a victim of somebody being over-exuberant and running out of talent.
We know there's a lot of potential in this car and the combination, and Bond is obviously...
Bond did a super job. He was 5th or 6th quickest overall, even when he was driving. Did an absolutely brilliant job. So I was just looking forward to bringing him the car in one bit, literally genuinely being careful. I saw Callum lose it on the brakes in the first corner and just dart off to the left-hand side. It shows you how tricky the conditions were. But I was just taking it, nice and steady, and just trying to keep out of trouble. And unfortunately, the other guy had other ideas.
In the next programme, we follow Bonamir's progress and go to Le Mans as Johnny and Ivor race on the most famous sports car track in the world. But for now, for me, Andrew Marriott, it's goodbye.